Chelsea have been having a rough go of things this season. So in this FM24 experiment, we are going to do a one season purely tactical rebuild with Chelsea to see if we can get them to do better in game than they're doing in real life. But there's going to be a little twist to it. We have asked ChatGPT to develop our tactic, and we're going to see if ChatGPT can create the perfect tactic to be able to rebuild Chelsea within the game. So we're doing a one season rebuild, and we're going to see how ChatGPT's tactic works over the course of this season. So let's break down the tactic. So overall, we're looking at a fairly simple 4-3-3 formation. But there are some interesting things that ChatGPT has going on here as far as the tactical instructions are concerned and the individual player instructions. So starting off with the goalkeeper, fairly simple, straightforward, goalkeeper on defend. But interestingly, two fullbacks on support and two central defenders on defend. So we're not going with wingbacks and we're not going with ball playing center backs. We're going with two fullbacks and two central defenders. So that makes things a little bit interesting. Perhaps, though, we're looking for a little bit of defensive solidity. We also have a deep lying playmaker on defense, so maybe we're looking to play through that deep lying playmaker. But we have a lot of more defensive roles here because of these two box to box midfielders who ChatGPT has added the get further forward instruction to on both box to box midfielders. So not only do we have two players here who are going to be roaming from position, but we have two players who are looking to get further forward. So ChatGPT could be onto something here because our deep lying playmaker holds position. We have two very conservative center backs. The only thing we have on them is to mark a little bit tighter, but they're also holding position. And we have our fullbacks who have been asked to stay wider. So maybe that'll help a little bit to create widths in these areas, but they're not moving further forward. They're staying relatively back. So maybe this is to give our two box-to-box players a little bit more room. And ahead of them, we have two inside forwards on attack who have been asked to shoot more often. And of course, an advanced forward on attack who has been asked to shoot more often as well. So really, we have 5 players here all looking to crash the box. And we have 5 players here who are all looking to hold their position. So this is what ChatGPT's done. They've created a very attacking front 5 and a very defensive back 5. So it'll be very interesting to see how this tactic plays out in game. Now, so those were the individual player instructions. Taking a look at our team instructions, I don't know if I like it, to be honest. ChatGPT's gone with a balanced mentality. I think if you're going with something like this, you've got to be more aggressive. You've got to go with a positive mentality. Not a huge fan of the balance for this team. In possession, we're looking at something kind of interesting. It's kind of patient build-up play, keep possession type. So we've got standard. We are looking to pass into space. We're working the ball into the box. We are shorter passing directness and higher tempo. I think these things work really well together. Playing out of defense works really well. I'm not sure about the focus play through the middle, especially because in transition, we're distributing the fullbacks, which is interesting. We're not really countering. That perhaps goes with, again, the shorter passing, the play out of defense, the keep possession type tactic. But we are looking to counter press, distribute quickly. Distributing to fullbacks, I don't like that. I would rather distribute to the center backs, but we're distributing to the fullbacks. We're taking short kicks. So we're doing a lot of things to play out of the back here. I don't necessarily, again, like distributing to fullbacks, but this is what ChatGPT's told us to do. And as far as out of possession, a little bit of a higher line, we're triggering the press, and we're stepping up more. So very interesting tactic from ChatGPT here. That's kind of the layout of what everything looks like. So let's do a little quick pick here. Let us pick the team without any restrictions. Let's pick our best 11. So this is what we've got. We're not going to have Kepa and Hakim Ziyech in there. So I think when we get them in, it'll probably be someone like Cole Palmer, and we'll have Robert Sanchez here. But otherwise, this is the team that's going to be starting for Chelsea. This is going to be the team playing each position. I think Moises Caicedo and Conor Gallagher, they're going to be the most important players in this whole system. They're the two box-to-box midfielders. Would that get forward further instruction? They're going to be the centerpieces to this whole tactic. Now, things that I like about the tactic, I like what we have going on up here. I think this will get the best out of Palmer, Sterling, and Nkunku. When Nkunku gets back, I think that'll be great. Caicedo and Gallagher, they fit the role pretty well. I think Fernandez is going to be a good deep line playmaker on defend. Where this tactic is going to struggle, I think, is not utilizing Reece James well enough. Reece James, I think, is a great wing back even on attack. I think these are two players, especially these inside forwards, who can get around and put crosses into the box, especially if they're getting further forward. I would have gone all in on that. But either way, it's an interesting tactic, and we are going to see how it does. So at this point, we've got one season. We're going to simulate one season into the future and see how Chelsea does. Quickly before we do that, looking at the season preview, Chelsea is expected to finish in sixth. So I say if they finish sixth or higher, we'll say this tactic was pretty good. Anything less than that, maybe not so much. So we'll continue forward, and I will see you all one season into the future. All right, we are at the end of the season. Let's see how Chelsea did last year. They finished ninth. They were terrible. Oh, wow. They drew so many matches. That's really where they faltered. As far as the games lost, I mean, really, they were around sixth, which was about expected. But it was all the drawn matches. I'm going to be honest, I think that's down to a balanced mentality, drawing all these matches against teams they were better than, and all those home matches. I think that's down to a balanced mentality. They should have won more. All right, so that was how they finished. Let's look at the actual schedule and see how they did last season. So looking at last season, as far a poor start to the season, no, maybe what was that? 1, 2, 3, 5, 1 win in 5. But after that, a good period between September and October. Honestly, a decent period between November and December. A really poor January, but it was tough having City, Luton, and United there. And a good period, but a tough end. A lot of bad periods where they just couldn't get a win. And a horrible end to the season. I mean, this end to the season with essentially no wins must have been huge given how they did. Yeah, I mean, with 12 draws and 11 losses, I'm going to be honest, I don't think ChatGPT came up with a very good tactic here. Looking at how some of Chelsea's key performers did, Nkunku in 22 games had 10 goals. That is a good output, but only a 6.84 average rating. That I don't rate. Sterling with a really poor season. Looking at that, looks like Madueke slotted in here. He was bad. Conor Gallagher not getting enough goals from the box-to-box midfielders here. Same with Caicedo. There were not many goals. I mean, wow. Looking at the team, Enzo Fernandez, this team was poor. Just all around, not very. Reece James has been the best performer so far, but the ratings haven't been good. The goal and statistical outputs haven't been good. Really disappointing overall. And sure enough, looking at it here, like goal scoring, they weren't great and they allowed a lot of goals. Like very mid-table as far as goals scored and middle-ish table as far as goals allowed. Like looking at this ninth place finish, I mean, they were a mid-table team. They weren't great. All right, I've gone a little bit back in time because I want to look at some of the stats for how this tactic looked. I'm really curious to see what some of the in-game statistics looked like as far as how the tactic was actually doing. So we're going to go to the overview here, team overview, and look at some of the stats. So this is part of the way through the season. So at this time, they were doing good on goals, but I'm more curious to see on the detailed side of things. Possession-wise, 7th in the league, 55% of possession. I'm not super surprised. We were expecting Chelsea to have more possession, So I think the tactic did what it was supposed to do there. None of these I'm too serious about. So as far as form is concerned, let's take a look at things like expected goals and goals per game. So goals per game, expected goals. Expected goals was pretty high. They're over, oh, but they're overperforming. So maybe it's not. Okay, expected goals for. Expected goals for was very mid-table. That is very telling about how the tactic was performing, I think, because they didn't get a whole lot. What about pass completion? You'd expect even the pass completion, I mean, the shorter passing, you'd almost expect that to be a little bit higher. They do have a lot of passes completing. They weren't creating chances. Maybe it was the work the ball into the box. But Chelsea just didn't create a lot of chances. They were very mid-table as far as shots were concerned. Not a whole lot of shots on target. The ratio of shots on target, very poor. Conversion rate is surprisingly high. That's probably unexpected for a Chelsea team. Shots per game, they weren't getting a whole lot of shots. Really not good offensively, not creating a high expected goals and not getting a lot of shots off. That could be part of the work the ball into the box. But really, overall, not great. Expected goals against is very good. So it seems that they were allowing more goals than expected. That might be down to the team, but expected goals against, not super bad. Mid-table as far as the number of possessions won. I mean, really, they were very average, kind of a mid-table side for getting interceptions. Shots against, they did okay there. Nothing outstanding about Chelsea here. I mean, looking at the attacking and defensive stats here over the course of the season, very, very average. Well, that's it. We asked ChatGPT to create the perfect tactic for Chelsea so we could do a 1 year tactical rebuild of Chelsea after the poor season they've been having. And I mean, I guess they're doing better in real life than in this version of the game, but I don't think the tactic worked very well for them. I don't think it was the perfect tactic. They were pretty average in all categories. If I was going to change this, I'd keep the box to box midfielder here. I'd get rid of the further forward. And I think I'd change this to like a center midfielder on attack or something. We would definitely have maybe inverted wingers. We'd keep that advance forward, but we would be taking advantage of at least a wing back on support here, ball playing defenders. And we definitely changed some of these instructions. In particular, I think the focus play through the middle was weird. I would maybe increase this to here instead, and definitely not distribute to fullbacks. At the very least, turn down the distribute to center backs as well. So maybe ChatGPT might have even overthought this one a little bit. But those were the results. Hope you've enjoyed this experiment, a short one today, just a quick 1 season AI tactical rebuild. But again, I hope you've enjoyed this, and I will see you all in the next video. Have a wonderful week. I will see you then. Bye.